Twilight closed the book and laid both forehooves on the cover. She had said nothing for a long time. So is this all of it? As best as it could be gathered. More silence. She licked her lips as if they were dry. I'm sorry, she eventually said. You have to understand, it's a lot to take in. I'm aware. A silver skin tore off her lower lip, allowing blood to bleed. She had not even realized she was chewing it until the jab of pain made her stop. She brushed her mouth with a hoof and made it put it back on the book, pausing the realization she would wipe her own blood on it if she did. She settled for putting her hooves in her lap instead. Who else knows this? Those who were there. Cadence, shining armor. I brought her here and let her read the book when she was ascended as she requested to tell him the truth when they became engaged. Right. Twilight closed her eyes, the better to center herself. When she opened them again, the first she looked up at the ancient vaulted ceiling and then at her mentor. I appreciate that you trusted me with this information. Celestia smiled sadly down at her. Twilight had seen her so many smiles from over the years, but this one was new, or maybe it was seen within the context of these surroundings that seemed new. She supposed it might be very old to see why she had witnessed before. I hope you understand why, Celestia murmured. Because I'm an alicorn now. So many things could be explained by the way those 5 words. She wondered how many more of them lay in the future. Yes, and because of you two are the Prince of Equestria, henceforth, like me, you will now have power, and as Starswirl said, is the task of the powerful to care for the weak. Twilight shifted her wings. The weight of them against her flank felt odd, having 2 brand new limbs to move around, as providing much more unnerving than she anticipated. Sometimes it felt like they had a mind of their own, and she had been an alarming sensation that was a guest in her own body. She glanced over her shoulder and rearranged her feathers, wondering whether she was truly ready for this kind of responsibility they were talking about. You might think it was I chose you, Twilight, but the elements of harmony were aware of you long before I was. My bond with them was broken, but when they were far from inert, they spent the last thousands years waiting and searching for ponies who would be eligible to bear them once they were needed to do so. They were a part of your life and whose your friends long before you all met and used them to save Luna. Celestia paused momentarily, the way I never could. No, Princess! Celestia stood. The desk made it was from pieces of broken stone. Did not move when she jumped up, but dust scattered from its surface when she thumped it. You did save her! You kept her from being killed by the Founders. Peace, Twilight. Celestia raised one gold-clad hoof. I have had 1,000 years to come into terms with my mistakes and their consequences. I have tried to honor the Founders in the way they would have wanted, by helping the hand of the ponies, and they love to flourish and glow by aiding their own families over the centuries. Never so much that their lives have become destined, but a little aid here and there to keep them safe and alive. Bequests of lands, appropriate tutelage would be requested, honoring the titles they wish to keep, etc., though only one unicorn line actually chose to do the latter. Twilight's eyes rounded in comprehension. Prince Blueblood is related to Princess Platinum herself? Indeed, Celestia said with an easy grace. To be honest, Twilight, I am surprised you did not realize that earlier. I thought it was just an affectation. Twilight frowned at the memories of her teenage years. Prince Blueblood was older than her, and had graduated from Celestia's school for gifted unicorns long before her, but he had maintained emotional maturity of a foal than the entitlement of a purebred cat on a silk cushion. She recalled the times he had tried to make her attend the Grand Galloping Gala as his date, as the unpleasantness that followed upon one time she had agreed, and realized he saw her not just as a pony, but as stepping stone to a networking with Throne. I avoided him as much as I could whenever I came up to the castle to see you. She took the unpleasant memories away. So all the Founders' lines are still around? In some form or another. A few married into other families, and the original names were lost long ago. but their bloodlines remained Equestria to this day. 1,000 of years is a long time. After all, things change. Twilight nodded. She looked down at the book with her hoof-written cover, tattered bindings and plentiful ink splats. It had smelled old when she breathed it in, like it was restricted section of the Canterlot's library. She would have never guessed it, but it had been kept in Daughtry, damp, cold old castle in the middle of Everfree. If she had not witnessed Celestia fetching it from a hidden proportion of the stonework, there were clearly enchantments in the book to keep it from disintegrated past joints when it was finished, but the original author had not kept it in pristine condition up to then. This must have taken a long time to assemble. Yes, finding the finer details of events that happened when I was not present was indeed difficult. Thankfully, I was not alone in collecting it all. Star Swirl. Twilight tapped a looping capital letter. I recognize this writing from the unfinished spell you gave me. Celestia nodded. He spoke to the castle ponies and painstakingly discovered who that was. It then penned it all and bounded it himself. He sometimes had to travel to those who had left the area following that dreadful night, though he always returned to Everfree Castle for what he considered his real work, trying to picture the secrets of elements. Celestia looked between each of the empty villas around them. Though, unfortunately, as you were well aware, he did never succeed in that elevator. There was that sad smile again. I visited when I could. The pressures of building Canterlot all had entailed on often keep me busy, but whenever he sent me a scroll, I would be there in a moment. He has always been waiting in the same place, she added softly. At this very desk by the Phillips he had built himself to study the elements, and come rain or shine, Posy would be in the other few minutes of my arrival with some of the special tea she had brewed from her herb garden. Twilight swallowed. What happened to her? Out of all ponies whose stories she had read in Star Swirl's book, all of that little earth pony who had been loved and betrayed by Luna had struck her the most. She had hoped Posy's tale had a happy ending. In answer, Celestia got to her hooves and gestured for Twilight to follow. Her horn glowed and the book floated along with her wake. She never left here, ever. Even when Star Swirl traveled to interview ponies or follow up in some lead or another, Posy stayed behind. Her state of mind has always been very fragile, and I think she was afraid that if she left it there, it would shatter again, and this time Star Swirl would not be able to help her, but put herself back together. Twilight's heart sank. So she just lived out her whole life here in an empty castle? They reached the bottom of the main staircase and trotted over into what might have been the garden. Judging by the remains of the walls around it, in the farthest corner, set amidst in a thriving patch of flowers, were 2 gravestones. Celestia gestured Twilight forward. Posy, Twilight read out loud. Her neck ached a little in shock at the same name at the second marker. And Star Swirl? But his tomb is in Canterlot. I've seen it. It contains the ashes that we burned on his pyre, Celestia replied. But it was not his body. At his request, I held my own funeral out there and cremated his real body. He didn't want any future evil sorcerers to break into the well-tomb and try to use his remains in dark magic rituals. So when he knew he was dying, he revealed that he had spent years growing a fake skeleton out of calcium and other minerals that had clothed in false flesh. I was never quite sure of the specifics, but to be honest, it worked for allowing ponies to mourn him without giving a rogue spellcasters something to seal and use against those same ponies. In Canterlot Memorial is just that, a memorial only. This is final resting place. Alongside the Earth Pony, I think he grew to love. In his own way, they were inseparable, you see. Decades of living together and relying on each other will do to the ponies. When she died, that was when he began his unfinished spell. The one I finished, Twilight breathed, still staring into the carved names. It was the last piece of research he did into the elements before Mortality claimed him too. From one to another, another to one, a mark of one's destiny singled out alone fulfilled. Not just for the first time. Twilight wondered that Starswirl had actually intended of that spell. This was new information, just provoked further questions as she would come back later, in quieter moments, when the weight of her wings and the other ponies' expectations had made her question her own wording on how she had finished and what the ponies would come after. She would think of her intentions for magic. Celestia's eyes were fixed forward but unfocused on the present, instead looking back at her own memories. When she died, a caravan of wagons came here. I fought them as gypsies, but they were nomadic hedge witches who had came to honor Posy and the pony who had cared for her. They and I were the only attendees at Starswirl's Pier prior. One of them was an elderly Pegasus named Masquerade, who had claimed to be Posy's relatives. She planted the first flower on their graves. It has become a tradition since then for me to come and plant a new one each year. That's a nice tradition, said Twilight, instantly feeling idiotic by the blandly of words. How she was ever supposed to make speeches to nations and other world leaders, if that were the best she could do during the solemn moments. I kept track of the family line after that, as I did with the founders. Posy had no children of her own, but I wanted to honor her bloodline as much as I was able to in any way. The hedge witches eventually died out, mostly from settling down and immigrating with ponies in established communities across Equestria. Masquerade's line migrated up to Cloudsdale, which isn't very surprising. What did surprise me was when the latest pony in the bloodline showed the prophecy of the aspects of hedge witchery that had not shown up for generations, and that moved back to the ground, the traditional home for hedge witches. Celestia's gaze slid into Twilight, specifically animal language in Ponyville. Twilight's jaw dropped. Fluttershy? Distantly, yes. I think Luna suspects this, though she has not asked me to confirm, and I will not volunteer for the information until she does. The resemblance is uncertainty uncanny, given Posy's omission from most historical archives. I doubt Fluttershy herself knows. Twilight was not sure what to think of this information. She gawped at the ground for a moment, trying to absorb it. When she looked at the gravestones again, reading them over while processing it all, and she had learned since Celestia had fetched her from her bedroom earlier today, there was a line of text under each name on the gravestones, clearly etched by unicorn magic and then scored to not to wear away over time. Here lived Posy, she of the woods of hedges, greatly missed within every second of the silence, not to be filled with the sound of her voice and hoofsteps. Twilight intoned. Here lived Starswirl, the bearded mage, friend and father, though he admitted to that affection only in death, now reunited with Clover and Posy. Twilight? Celestia stepped closer to her. I'm sorry, it's just... Twilight brushed furiously at her wet eyes. It's all so sad. It is that. She laid a hoof over her former student's withers. It is indeed that. Was Posy ever happy again? In her own way, but I will not lie to you, Twilight. Her pain over Luna's betrayal was a wound that never ever healed. Not all stories have satisfying endings. Celestia's ears laid flat, nor neat and tidy ones. Sometimes the ending of the story makes you question the validity of everything that happened within it. Why did I need to know these things, Princess? Could you not have just told me the truth about Luna and the founders of the elements, and left out the rest? I could have. Do you think I should have? Twilight's own ears folded back. No, I don't even... Wander Equestria doesn't know it. Someone has to remember those ponies. Her eye was drawn again to the sad little graves with her Marigarine markers, and that day they went through. She felt a tinge of Celestia's magic as the book levitated up to her face again. Finish reading, Twilight. Well, what? Twilight's brow furrowed in confusion. I read it all, Princess. Look at the back page. Twilight accepted the book into her own telekinetic field. She had stopped when she reached the end of Starswirl's writing, and seen as followed as nothing but blank sheets of paper. At the very back, however, she pressed flush to the worn cover. It was a page fresh writing on it. So Twilight could tell at the glance that this was much newer and had not been penned by the same pony. It had been of one of the flourishes of Star Swirl's penmanship, instead of being rather scratchy, as whoever wrote it was unused holding a pen anymore. Twilight stared at it, then at Celestia. I gave her the book when she returned and offered to let her keep it in Canterlot. She opted to leave it here with them. Celestia nodded at the graves. Which Twilight knew now noticed that they were not nearly overgrown as they should have been for their age. Some pony had been diligently attending to the flowers there, encouraging them growing healthy and strong. Nearby fresh seedlings had been planted there, were just beginning to poke through the returned soil. She had spent most of her year recovering from her imprisonment. Being here brought her comfort, allow her to regain in strength and confidence before returning to public safe. Did you not question her absence whenever you would visit Canterlot to see me, nor her changed appearance when she had came to Ponyville or Nightmare Night? Twilight had felt like she was supposed to say something, and profound and meaningful, but all she could do was press her tongue to the roof of her dry mouth and try to force the sounds out. I wasn't sure if it was a good idea at first, but I think it's been benefited her at the end, brought her some closure. Celestia sat down in the dirt and loam. Her white fur was instantly stained out, but she seemed to not care. I love my sister, Twilight. She is my family. I have missed her more than I could ever put words into, and I am grateful beyond reason to you for bringing her back to me, and for helping her heal after her return, becoming her friend, forgiving her past indiscretions, welcoming her into your young life and lives of your friends. She is my Luna again. With a start, Twilight realized that tears glistened in Celestia's eyes. The Luna I remember from when we were foals, before we lost our family, before the elements changed us, before we took the burden on ruling the country that wasn't even sure it was a country yet. I see some of that pony shining in her eyes again now. There is still a lot of healing to do, but you have given me hope that it could be done, and that we can truly be a family again. She paused. That I too can be forgiven for what I did. Oh, Princess. Celestia cleared her throat. When she spoke again, her voice was truly rusty, as if reciting lines from a play last performed long ago. Wouldst thou sit with me for a while? Twilight blinked at her. She was about to question to the sun switch old question, but at the same moment, what Celestia wanted was the exchange click in her mind. She drew in a breath. There is yet much work to be done. I am aware. I ask not for a whole day, only for a while. Celestia looked up at the night sky and the stars, arranged in the pattern of trio flowers. My friend. Twilight placed the book down on the grass and sat beside her. She looked once more at the last page, but said nothing. There was nothing left to say in this moment. There would be time later for words. For now she joined Celestia in watching the sky. A light breeze ruffled the old paper book, half concealing the words written here. My Posy, I never deserved you, and I shall never forgive myself for what I did to you. I wish I could tell you that I have returned your love, even from the dark place which I went. What little there was left of me in the nightmare loved you even at the end. I wish I could hold you now and give you the life you should have had. I wish I could take away the pain you felt. I have a million wishes for you, yet I can grant you none of them. So instead I shall honor those wishes, and you with a new constellation. For the first of 1,000 years, I hope ponies make wishes on those stars and find happiness we did not. Sleep well, my Posy. I'll love thee still, and I shall until I see thee again. Your Luna.
What's up, my pretties? It's the Lion Queen here. I want to appreciate you all for tuning into this video, and I do appreciate you guys supporting my video by giving this video likes and stuff. If you really enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like, comment and subscribe if you're new, ring the bell for notifications to when I upload so that way you guys will get updated for whenever I upload. If you want to follow me on Twitter or DeviantArt, feel free to leave to leave a follow on those if you are interested in following me on those socials. If you want to support my backup channel, known as Miss Dark Shigo, feel free to subscribe to it, as a link to that will also be in the About page section. And with that being said, and that being the case, thank you so much for watching, my pretties, and as always, please stay pretty.